Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of CIGRE Pathway to Power. Today's interview will be a bit different from the usual technical ones because we are at the Ministry of Energy, the place where all strategic plans and the legislative frameworks for the Romanian energy systems are created. We are here with Teodor Diaconu, advisor to the ministry who has a strong background on energy systems. Hello Teodor, thank you for having us here.
Hello, Radu. Hello, everybody.
First of all, let us know what do you do at the Ministry of Energy. Please briefly describe your activity here.
So I'm with the Ministry of Energy since 2021, and since then I'm advisor to the Secretary of State, Dan Dragan, and I am his counselor basically on everything technical, from power grids, power networks, renewable energy sources, storage, and maybe anything else required in the field of energy.
I'd like to talk a bit about prosumers or active users of electricity. Currently in Romania, we have about 140,000 prosumers with a total installed power of 1.7 gigawatts, and their number is growing rapidly. What legislative measures do you think would be suitable to manage this wave of prosumers given the technical challenges on the electric network?
So first of all, the expanding numbers of prosumers is a very good thing for the Romanian energy system, and we have seen this especially during this very hot summer when a lot of the demand was covered by prosumers during the hot daytime hours, especially the demand coming from AC systems. And prosumers bring change, and change is the first step to moving forward to a better energy system in this case. And for a better energy system, first of all, the grid operators have to adapt to this relatively new type of grid user, and they have to begin using it both as a grid support, not just as a consumer or a producer. But coming to the legislative part, prosumers are now very much encouraged, meaning prosumers up to 400 kilowatts installed power in the inverters. They are encouraged because they get something predictable back from every energy unit they insert into the grid. And also prosumers above 400, they can choose not to inject into the grid, and then they don't have any legislative issue here with what happens with the energy. Regarding further steps of legislation which could help prosumers better integrate into the grid, I would see better legislation, better secondary legislation on the aggregation of the production of prosumers, so that it can be quantified for maybe one or even more prosumers or other energy consumers in the same, let's say, virtual consumer.
Now, at a larger scale, building more and more photovoltaic power plants results in a relatively large amount of electricity generated in just a small period of time during the day. So, which are the solutions to make the most efficient use of the electricity generated by photovoltaics and renewables in general? And what plans has the ministry in this result?
Okay, so I'm going to stick a bit to the grand scale prosumers.
Okay.
In those cases, I would expect that every kind of this type of prosumer has adapted its consumption so that it's happening when the production also happens. And of course, the excess can go into the grid. So here is something, let's say, maybe easier to use.
Yes.
And now coming to large scale producers, this is a problem, let's say, everywhere, because the sun is on the sky at the same moment of time, and the demand cannot adapt itself in such a large scale, and it wouldn't make sense to adapt itself at such a large scale. But for a first example, usually industrial consumption happens during the day. So this could be a good coverage if we could increase industrial production and electrify those industrial areas which use, let's say, natural gas and can be electrified. Coming afterwards, another important step would be maybe a improvement in legislation for demand side response, maybe with different energy prices depending on the hour for all kinds of consumers. And this used to happen some time ago, but it's not the case anymore. But if we could have a differentiated energy price offered by the energy suppliers during the day, then during the night, for example, in the case of mostly PV production, then this would be a natural incentive for everyone to use more electricity during the day than during other times of the day. And I would say that lastly, and probably the most important way to switch this type of energy generated at only certain moments of time to energy generated when it's actually needed would be storage, in which basically energy would still be generated when nature allows it to be generated in the case of renewables, but the end suppliers wouldn't have to adapt themselves, the end consumers wouldn't have to adapt themselves that much, because we would have storage. And here maybe the most important measure taken by the ministry is to restart the hydro pump storage power plant Tarnița Lăpuștești, which would be, in my opinion, the best thing to happen to the Romanian energy system since Cernavoda nuclear power plant was built.
And there are any incentives for storage solutions?
So there was a first call of projects earlier this year with a budget of 80 million euros, part of the National Recovery and Resilience Plan. Here the target of the call was to have at least 240 megawatts and 480 megawatt hours of installed storage capacity, and we are expecting to get a lot more than this target. And secondly, there's going to be a further call of projects to install storage only at existing renewable energy power plants. And this would help them a lot to balance themselves so that any unbalance wouldn't reach outside of the producer's precinct.
Okay. Speaking about renewables, important steps have been taken to finalize the legislative framework for the construction of offshore wind power plants in the Black Sea, but a big question mark still remain over the solution to deliver the electricity generated into the grid. Dobroja region near the Black Sea is already over congestion, and what are the solutions here, and how can the ministry contribute to their implementations?
So it's very important, first of all, that the first step has been made, that now there is a legislative framework which lacked for years on how can renewable power plants be placed on the Black Sea, and especially offshore wind.
Okay.
Now, the time frame to develop this project is very long. It's very long also for the onshore projects. So first of all, there will be enough time until the development of these offshore projects, until also the grid can be reinforced so that it can help. And there are two major projects which have started at least at paperwork level, meaning the HVDC connection to Georgia under the Black Sea, and the HVDC connection to the Hungarian border, which should go alongside the Brua gas pipe.
Okay.
And these for sure will solve this problem. Obviously, it will take a lot of time to build this as well, but at least we're going on areas which do not require expropriation, because for the onshore cable to the Hungarian border, we're going to use the same pathway as Brua.
Yes.
And for the HVDC line to Georgia, the Black Sea shouldn't oppose us, maybe just with its underground chemistry, which is very acid. And maybe we can remember that there was a first try to make such a an HVDC line to Turkey, and which failed only for political reasons. But for now, these projects are politically agreed, and it's only now the paperwork and engineers part to be done.
Teodor, in the end of this interview, I would like to ask you if you believe in a 100% renewable energy system.
Here I'm very contradicted myself, because I believe and not at the same time. And it depends on what type of energy are we speaking. If we're speaking electricity, yes, I think it could be done. It will require a lot of money, time, and energy. But I really believe that renewables plus storage can be done. Okay, maybe we could keep some fossil producers as a reserve, and for moments when there's really no sun, no wind for several days. But the renewables should have to work still with nuke power. That's, in my opinion, the most certain source of energy and the most predictable, which would be needed to complement the renewable energy sources. If we're talking about heating, maybe in a far away future, yes. Okay. But for now, we need to consider that, especially when heating houses, a lot of the population uses gas and uses wood. This is very hard to eliminate for now, because electricity is not at such a good price that it can replace these traditional heating sources.
Yes.
Maybe in the future we could have enough good prices for electricity and better prices also for heat pumps, so that they could take over. It would probably happen at some point, but it's very hard to say when. And then we have the transport industry, in which we're trying to move to electric. We are searching for hydrogen solutions, but the dilemma of not having enough supply, then not having enough demand, is very hard to overcome. Again, it will still maybe happen at one point.
Okay, yes, that's an interesting perspective. Thank you for your time, Teodor, and for this interesting discussion. I wish you and your entire team success in achieving your goals here at the ministry.
Thank you very much, Radu, for this opportunity. I would like to send an end remark regarding the general activity of the ministry. We are, I would say, one of the few ministries which doesn't do a lot of paperwork, and here we do more technical and economic stuff. And I would like to thank you very much, my boss, Mr. Secretary of State Dragan, because he is really knowledgeable in the field of energy, and also the entire team of Minister Sebastian Burduja, who has brought many, many improvements to the activity of this ministry.
Okay, thank you too for watching this interview, and stay up to date with our activity at CIGRE. Thank you.